Hey everybody, we are out here in the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park going for a hike. We had a full day of rain yesterday, so we're just out here seeing what's blooming, and it is beautiful out here. Look at these desert sand verbenas. See how they're cascading over the wash wall? Isn't that great? And they smell so good. I wish I could do smell-o-vision on YouTube. But this is just a beautiful plant, and we're seeing all kinds of beautiful wildflowers out here. This is just the start of the season for these flowers to bloom. From what I understand, we haven't been out here before, but from what I understand, late February to early March is the peak season. So if you don't have plans for that time, it's a great time to come out to the park. This is Parking in Paradise. Catch up with us on all of our videos by hitting that like button, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when we post a new video, and subscribe to our channel. So we are going to continue our walk today out here at June Wash in the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park, and come along with us. There's some beautiful flowers out here. And see the little tiny flowers on it?
What is it?
Rock daisy.
Rock daisy.
And these are all over the place out here right now too, and they're starting to bloom. This right down here, this is what's called a plantain plant. It has nothing to do with bananas. It's a whole different family, but it has these little tiny blooms on it right now. And then this one right here it's kind of beat up from the rain, but this is a brown-eyed primrose. And all of these have scientific names that I can't pronounce, so I'm just giving you the common name.
And what is this over here?
Oh, the big one? That is a blue agave.
Tell us the story about the blue agave and how it grows.
So the blue agave grows in sort of, I think this is called a nesting pattern. And what this is there's a center plant that's sort of like the mother plant, and then all of these small plants come off and they grow in a circle typically, or in a grouping, and then the mother plant will bloom, and then after it blooms that plant dies, and then the smaller plants will use the composting matter from the mother plant that dies as nutrient. And so then they grow, and then they bloom. They will only bloom if the conditions are just right. They don't bloom every year, and they can grow for a long period of time without blooming. The Native Americans used to use this plant for all kinds of things. It is used to make tequila, for one thing, and alcohol, but it's also used as a sweetener. So the sweetener, the syrup, before you distill it, is a sweetener that's used in all kinds of coffee and other things. But they also used to take, if you snip the end here and pull this, you can see how sharp that is. It actually has a fiber, yes, that's at the bottom that pulls out, and you can use that to sew with.
Right, looks like a thread.
It does, it looks like a thread.
And it's very, very excellent cordage.
And it's strong, very strong. They used it in leather, actually. So this will go through leather. So you want to stay away from those. Don't fall on it.
And can you point out that one out there that has bloomed with the stalk?
Right. So that's one that has bloomed. And I see there's one way in the back that's just starting to bloom. We'll walk over to that one and get a better picture of it. But this one you can see has already bloomed, and the stalk is dead and will eventually fall over. But there are other agave, small agave growing around it.
Okay, let's continue our walk.
So this one is just starting to bloom, and I can smell it. It is so aromatic. This is the desert sunflower, and the blooms are just starting to come out on it. They'll open up fully, and it's one of the beauties of the desert, actually. And if you can see the stems on it, it has a really thick stalk, and it's pink or red. It's not always pink or red, that's a general description of it, but this is a beautiful plant. It's very, very healthy. There's obviously a lot of water around here. Doesn't belong here.
This is not native.
This is an invasive plant. It is the mustard plant, an invasive mustard plant. There is a native mustard that grows here, but this is not it. As you can tell, it doesn't really look like it belongs here. It's very broad-leafed. It's big. It's actually very easy to pull up right now. And you can see this taproot in the bottom. Actually, the taproot broke off of this one, which is okay. So what I'm going to do here is I have these clippers, because I don't want to carry this whole plant around with us. But I also don't want to leave it here, because these seeds will still feed off of this root, and it will continue to grow and it will seed. So I'm going to clip the taproot off, and I'm going to just leave that here, and then I'm going to turn the plant over and see this area here. This is where it flowers, and I'm going to just cut that piece right there off. And there's one over here too, so I'm going to cut that off. And there aren't any more flower stems on it, so I can just leave that here. Now I'm going to throw it over here to this agave and let it compost and feed that. And then brought a handy dandy plastic bag, and we're going to put these in this bag and take them out of here, so they don't have any chance of reproducing.
So that's how you control invasive species.
That's right. Right there. And then we're going to throw that in the dumpster.
Okay, let's journey on.
Okay, so we have it's not a rarity, but it's always exciting when you find one, an agave that's blooming. And you can see the top of here, the flowers are starting to come out, and some of the ones at the bottom have already bloomed, and it looks like they've already been pollinated, and they're moving on. And then the ones at the top have yet to blossom. But these are so beautiful. They're nice and yellow, and they have little small flowers on them for this great big plant. But the hummingbirds love them, and so do the bees. And so that's how they get pollinated. And so once this plant blooms, this stalk will dry out and it will fall over. And the plant that it's attached to will then die. Its life cycle is over. So the way that the agave, the sweetener, is made is that before this blooms, like right when it's starting to have a stalk come up, they were harvested at that point, because the sugar down in the bottom, in the heart of the agave, is the strongest at that point. And so they take that and then they roast it, and then they get the agave syrup out of it. And they can actually, I believe, also eat the heart of the agave. It's like a sweet candy-like treat. So this was a very important part of the Native Americans' diet. And also, like I said before, for other uses. They use the points for sewing and the fiber for cordage. So the native people historically that lived in this area, and we are in the southern part of the Anza-Borrego Desert State Park. There were actually two tribes that mostly lived in this area. In the area that we're in right now, it was the Kumeyaay people that lived here, and I will put a link actually in the description below so you can learn more about the Kumeyaay people and how they lived, and the uses of the plants and the types of animals that were here and are somewhat still here in this area. But this was a really historic area at the time, and many native people, you know, lived here and made their lives here before the 1800s, when the white people started coming in and they ran the stagecoach line through this area. This is the Great Southern Overland stagecoach route, and it went from San Antonio, Texas, all the way to I believe San Francisco, at least to Los Angeles area, but I think it went all the way to San Francisco. I'll have to look that up, but I'll also put that information in the description. It's great to learn the history of these places as we visit, and to really appreciate, you know, what the people before us were doing on this land, and to learn about that.
What is this little creature?
Look at this gorgeous garden. This desert wild garden here. It's got rock daisies. It's got a beautiful flowing desert sand verbena. You've got the sunflowers over here. You've got popcorn flowers around over here. There's some little yellow flower that I'm not sure what this is. Oh, this is this? Oh no, I don't know what that is. We're gonna have to look at that and look this up.
That's popcorn flower right there?
These are popcorn flowers. And you see how little the flower is on it? This is a self-pollinating plant, which means that it doesn't count on birds or bees or any other species to pollinate it. Okay, I want you to look at this ant down here if you can. If you can see this ant. He's carrying a bud that's bigger than he is. Come on, dude. Right here. Oh, don't drop it. Here, you can have it back. Let's see if he picks it up. Yep. Isn't that phenomenal? It's like carrying the Eiffel Tower on your back right there.
They are amazing.
They are amazing.
Oh, you're abandoning the mission.
So we have here a Spanish needle, and it's just starting to bloom. It's really beautiful. And you can see the stamens are the little purple hairy things sticking out from the flower. And those are called externid stamens because they stick out. And they get a lot of attention. And that's on purpose so that they can reproduce easier. And there's a whole bunch of them out here. And this is just so beautiful because the thing about desert flowers, some of them are really showy, like the verbena or the sunflowers, but some of them you have to really get down and look at, like the popcorn flowers, the frost mat, and the Spanish needle. You really have to look closely to really appreciate the entire flower. It's so magnificent. It's like discovering a whole new world.
Kind of like a person.
It is. Exactly.
Right? You discover a whole new world by just sitting there and paying attention.
Yep.
Isn't that lovely?
It is. So we just came across another lupine. These are called Arizona lupines, even though we're in California. They're Arizona lupines. And look at it blooming here. And lupines are very interesting flowers because as they pollinate, as they get pollinated, they actually change colors. It may be a very subtle, going from this dark purple to a lighter violet, but it notifies the hummingbirds and the bees, don't come here, I've already been pollinated, go somewhere else. So they communicate with their pollinators. It's very interesting.
What have you found?
So this is really small and you have to get down here to see it. This is a tequila plant in the tequila family. I'm not sure the species. It has many, many veins on the leaves. So I believe this is a Piccata Tequila plant. There's another one called Palmer's Tequila that has a similar leaf, but it doesn't have as many veins. This is what I mean by you have to get right down on the ground to see some of these plants.
Is that the biggest one?
This is the biggest one I've ever seen. Look at this sucker. This is crazy. And it looks like someone took the top of it off. It was hard to pull. It took 2 hands. Look at the size of this taproot.
If it hadn't rained last night, you probably wouldn't have gotten that out very easily.
Exactly. But
so,
even with my big whiskers, I think I'm going to have to cut this in pieces.
yeah.
Ugh.
What if you could snap it? I wonder if this is an edible plant. We'll have to find out and put it in the...
It is edible.
It is.
It
the root or the leaf?
The leaves.
Okay.
It is edible. It's in the mustard family, of course. Most mustards are edible, but for me, it does not taste good. I tried it, and it's very, very bitter.
Well, let's see that.
Has a nasty aftertaste.
Wow, that's very like cellulose in there.
Well, this is where the energy comes from.
I see that.
So the energy is stored in the taproot, and it gathers water, and then it feeds it up to the plant, of course, and this has huge leaves, so photosynthesis definitely happens here. And this one doesn't have any tops on it. Somebody already took the tops of it off, but we need to pull it. So
okay, good job.
it's done. And it's heavy. It weighs like 5 pounds.
Hey, we are here at Anza-Borrego. This is the June wash, isn't it? Called
Yes.
the June wash.
Yep.
And as you can see by what's behind us, it's blooming in the desert, and it is just really spectacular. So I hope that you're enjoying this as much as we are. Take good care. Check us out, Parking in Paradise.
Hey there, so we just came across something I've been looking for all day. This is a Dune Primrose, and it's just starting to bloom here. And you can see it has these beautiful white blooms. And it's sitting right next to a brown eye, which is great because these are in the same family. They're both primrose. This is a brown eye primrose. And the reason it's called that is because it has a brown center. And then this is the Dune Primrose, and it will open up in a big flower when it opens up. And it has beautiful, beautiful buds on it. So it's going to be blooming really soon. So gorgeous. I've been looking for that all day.
Hey, what'd you find?
I don't know what this is. It's some sort of parasitic plant life, or it could be a fungi. I'm not sure. If you know what this is, put it down in the comments. I'm going to do some research and try to figure it out. We have a couple of ravens flying around us. But this is on a plant here in the desert. Ow, it's a stickery plant, so I'm not going to touch it. But it's like grass, but You know what it reminds me of is like corn husk, or the
Right.
the
consistency of it.
not the
and the
husk,
feel.
but the hair that's
Right.
on corn when you peel it. This is very wet, probably because it rained last night, but it's bright orange, and I've seen it on a couple of different kinds of plants, and I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem to be good for the plant, that's for sure. It's probably taking nutrients from it. So we're gonna look this up, see if we can figure out what it is.
And there's something that just doesn't look like it belongs here, but it does.
Well, maybe
because we don't know.
I'm not sure what it is. We'll figure it out.
And do you think that it's been caught in this bush?
You know, I really don't know. It probably got caught in it to begin with. And it looks like if you zoom in around the stalks here, it wraps around the stalks.
So this is in the middle of a wash. I could show you. So the water came through here. Let's see which way it's going. It looks like the water is going that way, so away from us. But that doesn't stand to reason for this, so it looks like I'm wrong and it's going this way, so I'm going to turn around. Yes, that looks more like the waves of sand are going up against that, and this has been caught in this bush. So the water likely brought it right through here. What'd you find?
So these are all over the desert. You'll find them a lot along roadways. Be careful because they're very dangerous to touch. They'll make you, they're very stickery. So this is a desert thorn apple, and you can see this one is not blooming anymore. It's bloomed, and that is the fruit underneath there. And that's why it's called the thorn apple, because you can see that. And I don't know if you can or not, but if you can zoom into this one, this one is opened up. It's dried out and it's opened up and it's spilling its seeds. And that's how it propagates. This one has a very similar flower to the gypsum weed, and it can often be mistaken for that.
So if you want to have a garden in the desert, use this as your perimeter plant.
Or the chollas. That'll keep people out.
What a beautiful plant.